Welcome to Oh Hell No with Nicole.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Oh Hell No. And today I have two guests and we're going to get into some, I don't know what you want to call it, maybe roots and culture, I don't know, just some grown folk talk, right? Some good talk. So I have Audrey and I have Stewy. Say hello, guys.
Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome to Oh Hell No. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on my podcast and chop it up with me.
Thank you. First time on a podcast. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so cool, right? Um,
hmm
before we jump into our topic of the day, I wanted to just touch on some things that are going on right now in the world with, Houston and all of the rain that they're getting and the devastating situation that's happening there. I'm sure you guys have seen it, right? You're not under a rock, so you definitely have seen it on social media, on the news, all over the place. The thing
Yep,
that
for sure.
the thing that I want to ask you guys your opinion on is this whole thing with Joel Olstein, the I don't know. I wouldn't really call him a preacher, but he's like a pastor of one of the mega churches in Houston, and he has some issues going on because he didn't open his doors to people that have been displaced, and they're just like dragging him on social media. And I'm just curious to how people feel about that, because I have my opinion, and it's probably, I don't know, people probably would get mad at me for what I initially thought and think, but I'll put my opinion out there first. I feel like I think maybe he didn't open his doors immediately because he's you have to think of a plan. Like, how can you keep these people safe when you let them in? How can you provide them with the necessities that they need? You can't just open your doors and just be like, come in, and then we'll figure it out, because then what happens? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it's a little unfair for them to just automatically jump on him like that and call him a fraud and say that, oh, he didn't want to help anybody and whatever. And I do think that he was kind of forced into helping, but maybe he was just trying to come up with a plan. What do you guys think? I'll start with Audrey. What are your thoughts?
I did. He did end up opening up the church, right? You
Yes.
said.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, I mean, we kind of knew this hurricane was going to happen a week prior, so that kind of planning maybe probably should have been done prior. But I do feel that people really shouldn't drag him as much. Obviously, I don't know how long it took for him to open up the church, but like you said, I do agree. I feel like some of it does come to planning, and it's hard. You have like so many people that come to that church, and I know there's plenty of people that don't even go to that church every Sunday that probably would go there for rescue, which is fine. I'm sure he's open to that, but you do need to have a plan. You need to have food. You need to have blankets,
Yeah.
whatever it is that you need. So
Right.
I'm sure he was trying to plan it out.
Yeah. What do you think, Stewie?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm in line with your thinking, Nicole. You can't really just open it up, but I think from the reports that I received was the reason why he's being ridiculed is because he mentioned that the church's parking lot was underwater, and then people went to the facility and discovered that there was absolutely no flooding and there's nothing wrong going on there. So why isn't your church open? So I understand what you're saying about, just, letting the doors open and have people come in. You need to plan and everything. But I think the message got out that there was some type of catastrophe or something going on as to why he's not opening his church when that's not the situation.
Yeah. I think too, I did see that report, and he showed some pictures of some flooding, but there wasn't any flooding inside, so I get it. But then again, I've been to that church, and inside the building, there are stores, there's cafes, there's like a lot of stuff, and I think that that is something that, as a business person, and I know that when it comes to saving lives, the first thing should be like, yo, let's just, help people, right? But at the same time, I think maybe a little bit of his business mind was going too, because remember what happened in Louisiana at the Metrodome that they opened up to people? It was trashed, and
I understand.
you know what I'm saying. So I think maybe a part of him was kind of feeling nervous and feeling like, I want to help God's people, but Jesus, like I just feel like it was a little, catch 22.
I just think for a pastor though, I just don't think you should call you. He's more of a savvy businessman than to put out a message like that. That there's something going on. Why my church is not open? I mean, I think he could have employed some better PR marketing people to help with that message.
Yeah.
I just think the way it was sent out was wrong.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then today, so now the church is open, and he tweeted out, I don't know if it was a tweet or Instagram, but he posted, thank you to all of the volunteers that came out. We couldn't have done it without you. We have so many volunteers now that we don't need anyone else. Like, he was literally turning people away from volunteering because, again, you need people to, be in charge, to say, okay, this is where you go for this is where you go for that, that kind of thing. So I think it kind of worked out, but they still dragging him. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, in the words of D.L. Hughley, God didn't open the church, Twitter did.
All right, guys, so let's segue into our topic. So Stewy, this topic came up because Audrey and I were having a conversation with my sister, and we were talking about, the whole Rasta culture. Now, someone said that we were listening to something, and the person said that their relative was a Rasta. So I made a joke and said, well, if he ain't got dreads and he's not Jamaican, he ain't no Rasta, But I was kidding, right? But I was kind of serious. I'm not even going to lie. I was a little serious, right? So then Audrey, and correct me if I'm wrong, Audrey said, well, the whole Rasta movement or whatever did start in Jamaica. And I said, well, I thought it started in, I said Ethiopia, right, Audrey? Yes. So I said I thought it originated in Ethiopia, and then an argument, like not a like a bad argument, but we just started going in. Who's right? Who's wrong? Google, Google said, the whole thing. So Audrey, please share your theory, and what was your feeling behind this? You said what?
So, it was basically to your comment that, you can't be Rasta unless you're Jamaican. And obviously, with Jamaican culture being worldwide, people know the music from Bob Marley. A lot of people, just like other religions, they study it and they transform and become a part of that religion. They have the same beliefs, thoughts, but you can be from anywhere and practice any religion, right?
Right.
So that's why I made that comment that, you don't have to be Jamaican to be a true Rasta.
Right.
And then we started discussing whether or not it was from Ethiopia or whether or not it was from Jamaica, which I had originally thought it was from Jamaica, which I know now is true after all the Googling that we did. And I feel like it was done because they had seen, it was Marcus Garvey, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was the whole Marcus Garvey movement of going back to Africa, and they had seen the whole Haile Selassie. They felt that he was almost a prophet or like another reincarnation of another, not a god, but like almost like a Jesus, another Jesus. So I feel that there wasn't a bunch of Rastafarians running around in Ethiopia. That was mainly done in Jamaica. That was something that was cultivated and originated from Jamaica.
Right, but hold up. Isn't that what I said? I said I think that it originated in Ethiopia. somehow, because I'm not even going to front. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some history buff and I know it and I'm well versed. This is what I said. I said it was originated in Ethiopia, and the Jamaican people took it and cultivated it and made this whole Rastafarian movement. And I hate that word Rastafarian. It sounds so dumb when you say it like that, right? It's just Rasta. I just like to say that. But anyway, that's another thing. And then I said that I thought that Jamaicans took it and made it popular, made it a thing. That's why whenever people say Rasta, the first thing someone else will say is, oh, he Jamaican, or you know what I mean? They just associate the two with each other, right? So just to, jump in right there, I did say it was both, but I said that I felt like just like everything comes from some place, right? So I said, even if there were two people in Ethiopia walking around with one dread on their head and doing, saying we only eat fish or whatever, and then, someone took it and said, oh, I discovered this over here, and I think that we could take this and turn this into something else, and you know what I mean? That's how I envisioned it happening, but I wasn't there. So, and I'm not really that good with history either, so Audrey, do you want to continue, or do you want to turn the
I would like to hear Stewy's opinion or facts.
So I mean, I'm by no means claiming right now to be any kind of expert on Rastafari. I can only talk about my experience and when I was a young man and my seeking to find myself an identity. I found that to be one of the vehicles that helped me to, define who I am and get consecrated in my blackness and culture and all of that. So to stick to the point with what you guys are saying, and Nicole, is, there's a bunch of Rastafarians that would probably be looking for, based on some of the things that you just said. but I'll protect you. So basically, I like the discussion. I like the fact that you guys are even talking about this because I think it's very important. So as far as Rastafarianism is a religion, right? It's a religion. It's a faith-based religion, and again, yes, you can be anyone and be Rastafarian. As a matter of fact, you don't have to have dreads to be Rastafarian, right? You don't have to smoke weed to be Rastafarian. All of these things are things that you see on TV and just the manipulation of media and stereotypes. You don't have to do any of that. Rastafarian is a pure belief in someone who they see as their God, right? And have all the tenets of, let's say, what a Christian religion would be, or Judaism. It's a mix of all of those. So, it's a pure religion. So going to the question of where did it originate from? So Rastafarianism was born out of blackness, was born out of black people trying to get away from colonization, trying to get away from that rule of the white man is everything, right? That deep sense of knowing that we're greater than what it is that they tell us that we were. So back in those days, which is around 1930, when Selassie was crowned, his name was Rastafari Makonnen, Ras meaning prince. His name was Tafari. His last name is Makonnen. He was crowned Haile Selassie the first, right? Emperor of Ethiopia, right? This man has a lineage that goes way back to Solomon and Queen Sheba back in the biblical days. So with that said, there was a gentleman by the name of Leonard Howell, who is a Jamaican and was a very good friend of Marcus Garvey. And because of the coronation of His Majesty and the titles that came with His Majesty, Kings of Kings, Lord of Lords, Conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, Leonard Howell, envisioned, hey, listen, here we have a black king that arrives from the east, right? Here is a true prophecy of black people coming out of way from biblical days, and we're going to show through His Majesty that we are actually people worthy of royalty, people worthy of a culture people that are not just came here to be slaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Leonard Howell is actually the first man who brought Rastafarianism or started the Rastafarian movement in Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
right? Leonard P. Howell, along with some of the principles that was taught by Marcus Garvey, started that Rastafarian movement in Jamaica
Mm-hmm.
after Haile Selassie was crown prince.
Okay.
King, sorry. Yeah. So to answer the question in short form, Rastafarianism was born in Jamaica, but out of the events that happened with Haile Selassie in Ethiopia.
So it's a
This is my
combination.
understanding.
No, but I think what you're saying is absolutely right, because we also have a cousin that is very well versed in this information, and he also said it's Ethiopia and Jamaica.
Yeah.
Right, Audrey?
So my question to that is, what parts of the Rastafarian culture do you guys take from Haile Selassie? Like, are there certain beliefs that he had that you guys then cultivated? Like, what are some of the things that you guys feel maybe originated in Ethiopia?
Yeah, so really it's just His Majesty has a bunch of books, a bunch of writings, and just as a leader for Ethiopia, a lot of these things were prophesied where Rastafarians took, basically this man's way of life and how he spoke, educated, humility, all of these tenets came from him. But the most important thing was they saw him as the true and living reincarnation of Jesus Christ, right? Jesus Christus, the man who's coming back, from, resurrection and all of that, from the Christianity side of things, based on his moniker, which is Kings of Kings, Lords and Lords, which is in the Bible. If you look in the Revelations, you'll see where it says, there shall be a king arise, and his name, he shall be titled Kings of Kings, Lords and Lords. There it is. Haile Selassie, Kings of Kings, Lords and Lords. As far as the Rastafarian movement goes, this is our true king. This is the man that we're going to look forward to, along with Marcus Garvey's tenets of going back to Africa and building ourselves up and repatriation. So that's kind of where, they align themselves with Selassie.
Right, and that's why I always hear in the music, and just like if you listen to anyone who subscribes to the whole Rastafarian culture, or not, let me say religion, they always talk about Africa as like being the Mecca, like the motherland, like the place where they belong, where they want to go back to. So that is also another reason why I felt like, you want to go back to where it originated, right? Like where it, So that was my theory. I mean, I could be wrong. Again, I don't. That's
That's
no,
it's not to cut you off. It's just that it's not even so much to go back where it began. It's so much to go back to build up our own. We are Africans, and we're brought over to the Western world as slaves. We are much more than that, right? Let's go back to Africa and kind of build it, or recognize that we have our own, right? That everything that they're teaching us over here on this side, it doesn't mean that this is it for us, because really they brought us here through ill gains, right? They didn't really bring us here to come over and flourish. Right. It was really for labor. So the whole African movement was, listen, we have our own. Why don't we go back and build that instead?
Right. Wow, damn, you took us to school today with your Reggae Tongue. So everybody listening, of course, Stewy is Jamaican, right? And he was born there and raised, right? So he's a good reference point for us. So I'm sure you guys can tell.
Yeah. And again, there's many different interpretations. Everybody interpret them things, differently when you coming into yourself, right? This is just through my readings and my interpretation of Rastafari and what it meant to me. But going back into the history books, you will definitely read about Leonard Howell, who didn't have dreads in his hair and didn't, I don't know if he smoked weed, but definitely, Leonard Howell wasn't a typical Rasta man, like looking at Bob Marley. And I've met many Rastafarians throughout my years that don't smoke, don't have no locks, not even Jamaican. And these are some of the most purest form of Rastafari that I've ever come across.
Wow, that's quite interesting to me. And not to take anything from us either. I just, I have to throw this out there that we are Jamaican too, right? Stewy, this is a running thing with me and Stewy, but he knows. So, you know, so it's funny that you say that because I, I, I don't know. I get it that people can, adapt to something because they like it and want to be a part of it and believe in it. But I don't know. I kind of have a problem with that. Not like a real problem, a legit problem, but I do kind of I look a little bit, I'm a little snobbish about it, you know?
I think a lot
You
of
want to call
people
it
feel
your own,
that
you
way.
want to call yeah.
Yeah, just with any religion, right? There's like some Muslims that you have to be from an Arabic or Middle Eastern place in order to be a Muslim, or
True.
there's some Jewish people that you have to be from Israel in order to be Jewish.
True.
But obviously,
True.
everyone, you can practice whatever religion you
Right.
want.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying that any people shouldn't practice what they want to. I'm liberal. Do whatever you want. Have a good time. Practice whatever, is in your soul. Do your thing. But I'm just saying for me, sometimes I always look at people, when they're like trying to follow something and, they have no foundation for it or anything. It's just like, how did you get into it and what are you doing? It's like, and it's funny that you bring up the whole Muslim thing because I was talking to someone at work today and he said to me, that his sister is a Muslim. And he's a black guy, a black American guy. And he was saying to me that his sister is a Muslim. She's been a Muslim for a lot of years. And then he said he kind of has a problem with people who, get into this whole Muslim religion and they want to wear the, what is it called? The
Hajib.
uh,
Hajib.
the whole outfit. What is the whole? Is that what it's called? The whole entire thing, like the ones the girls wear.
The Hatib.
It's okay, hajib. So he says they want to wear the hajib, right? But when you look at their shoes, they got on red bottoms or like some sexy heels, and the hajib is fitting real tight around their breast and butt, and like he's like, I don't really get where they're going with that. Like, but then you want to talk about someone else and what they're doing and how they're not living right because it's not the Muslim way. But they're also doing that kind of thing. So again, I mean, these are not people who are from the Middle East or whatever. These are people that are here and somehow they fall into the Muslim, culture and religion, and they want to, follow it. But I don't know, how authentic is it? I don't know. Guys, what are your thoughts? You see the 5%ers and the guys in Harlem selling bean pies and stuff. Like, what do you think about those guys? Not to,
Yeah, I think for some people it's a trend, of course. It's like I want to try to find myself.
Right.
And then some people really do end up loving the religion. They find their self and say, you know what, this is something that I believe in and this is something that I want to practice. But I agree with you. There are people who do it as a trend. They're like, I love smoking weed, so I'm going to start being a Rasta. And I'm going to grow my dreads because I'm tired of getting a haircut.
Right.
Like, there's just, definitely, I agree.
Yep, and some believe, just going back to Rastafarianism, some people just, like you say, you smoke weed to know I'm a Rasta, and they think that is it, you know what I mean? Like, you always have those. So, yeah, I hear you. And I guess, because you mentioned, in the Muslim religion, these things are going on, I guess that just happens everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, that's just one example of it. But, I mean, another thing that I've seen, because I watch a lot of reality TV, right? So there was, and I know you guys are like, reality TV, what the hell does that to do with anything? But I always relate the stuff that happens on reality TV to real life because it's like real. So I was watching Shaws of Sunset, and Jessica was engaged to, I can't remember his name. Anyway, she's white, he's Jewish, right? But Iranian, and he she converted. Now she's Italian, white Italian, and they were engaged, and she converted to Judaism and did everything. Learned the language, learned to cook his food, his native food, all of that stuff. And not even a year in, they divorced. So now what happens after you've converted? Can you convert back? Or, I mean, like, what do you do? You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry to laugh, but I don't think you convert back. I think if you convert because you wanted to have, well, first of all, if you marry a Jew, you have to be Jewish. So you have no choice if that's what you have to do. I think it's just something, I don't know. If you fall in love with the faith, I guess you keep it going. If not, I guess you just don't have to practice.
But that's the thing. Do people really fall in love with the faith, or do they do things because it's driven by something else? You know what I'm saying? Again, I want to smoke weed and I don't feel like brushing my hair, so now I'm a Rasta. You know what I mean? Or,
Right.
what is it? So that's where I, have an issue. So I looked up some stuff because, again, I said, I'm not as good as Stewy. I can't take y'all to school like he took us. But I did Google, and I got, what'd you say?
Sorry to go so deep.
No, I love it. That's why I called you, because I know that you know your stuff. I mean, again, we'll put the disclaimer out there. The thoughts and opinions that are expressed on this podcast should not be what's fill in the blank for me. That's my disclaimer. So we're just giving our opinions and we're just talking.
Right.
And,
Right.
don't come for us on social media
True.
about nothing, because I don't want to hear it. And if you come for me, I'm coming back. Just know. So, no, did I tell you? I wrote, somebody put up something about McGregor, that whole fight, and I was like, oh my God, he's so annoying. He's such a loser. He's always talking shit to people. Like, why can't he just, like, say something nice? Somebody was like, oh, hell no, shut the fuck up. I was like, what? How dare you? You shut the fuck up. How dare you talk to me like that?
Oh man, this is what happens when you put yourself out there. You
right.
got to take it, right?
I know. I told him to go read a book. I was like, go read and don't tell me to shut up. This is social media, and
Right.
I can say whatever I want to say.
Right.
But anyway, so so I found some things to know about Rastafarian beliefs, right? So let's see
Right.
if these things are in fact true. It was like 10 things.
Okay.
So the first one, if I could get myself together, this one is boring. It's just about the colors, right? So
Right.
it's the red, green, and black. That's what they say is the colors.
Red, green, and gold.
Oh, see,
Red, green, and black is the African is the symbol of African, the African colors. That's what red, green, and gold is really symbolized Rastafarian, and that's the colors of the Ethiopian flag, by the way.
see, they don't even know. Well, they do have yellow hair. They say yellow. Yellow color
Right,
is said
right.
by some to refer to the wealth of their homeland in Africa, right?
Right.
All right. So, let's see. I'm just going to give you the interesting ones. Don't call them Rastafarians. They don't like Ians and isms because they feel like it represents the corrupt Babylonian system that oppresses people all over the world.
First, I've never heard of that one, but okay.
See?
I don't know everything, so
No.
okay.
Look, they could be wrong. Not all Rastas smoke weed. And that was something
right.
that you did say. They call Haile Selassie the second coming of Christ, which we just discussed. Your body is a temple. Right? And the return to Africa, which we talked about that. It is a paradise on earth, and the goal of many Rastafarians is to move back to Africa. And they have their own Is it lyric dialect? So
If what they
Rastas
have
have
their
their
own
own
what?
dialect.
lyric,
Right.
that's what it's called, lyric dialect. So
I never.
yeah, that's the whole I and I, and that.
Yeah. Rasta have them own. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So
I didn't know there was a name associated with it, but okay.
yeah, yeah. See, so that was pretty interesting.
Very interesting.
All right. So what do you guys think about this word is always used nowadays, right? This whole cultural appropriation. I love saying that. I just say it because remember Audrey the other day I was like, people mispronounce my name. It's cultural appropriation. I just be, I just be saying random stuff. Like I just love that phrase. So I found an interesting article about what is cultural appropriation and what is not. So in here, interesting enough, it does say trying to imitate their natural beauty standards and possible makeup markings. Example, dreadlocks, bindis, henna. So if I get henna, that's cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Hmm. I guess.
And see the
Yeah.
dreadlocks. If you ain't Jamaican, you shouldn't have dreadlocks. I'm telling you. Is that wrong?
Oh boy. If you but if you black, you're not supposed to have dreadlocks. Is that what you're saying? You have to be Jamaican.
All right. Okay. So if you black, you can have dreadlocks. Let me expand it.
Oh, okay. But if you're white, you can't have dreadlocks.
I'm gonna be looking at you with the side eye, unless somebody is black. Like if your
Okay.
mom is white and your dad is black, you get a pass. If mommy and daddy are white, sit down.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I went to this event on Sunday, and the DJ, one of the DJs it was a reggae mixer, like just a little chill session. And one of the DJs that came to play was a white female, and she played reggae, and she had dreadlocks. And she played, the music was good. She did a good job. I like to support my ladies doing a damn thing. But I was looking at her dreadlocks. I was. I'm not even gonna lie. They weren't tight because it's very hard for their hair to get tight, right? And I just couldn't take my eyes off of her. And it was because, I wasn't judging her, but I was just looking like,
This
okay.
is funny.
No, I'm serious. Don't, I mean, you
I don't
guys.
know. I think it's okay if you have. For me, in the beginning, I always, and today I was enlightened about you don't have to be a dreadlock. You don't have to dreadlocks to be a Rastafarian, because I really thought that you did. Because I thought that was a part of the, I guess,
Yeah,
I don't know the
because
word right now,
you're
but I thought that was something like you shouldn't touch your hair
right.
because
Right.
of something.
Right.
So to hear that now, that's totally different from what I've known. So cultural appropriation, that probably shouldn't be a part of cultural appropriation because it's not truly defined to one specific religion. And now when you look through Instagram and they have different cultures, you see back in centuries ago there were some Indians with dreadlocks, but they weren't practicing Rastafarianism. They weren't practicing that religion. It was just maybe their hair, they just didn't comb their hair and it just formed into dreadlocks just like anyone. And I've also heard from some people that you can't have proper groomed dreadlocks. It should be just grow
Natural.
freely, and it turns into different forms of dreads, nothing that's twist. Because if it's twist, then you're manipulating it, and if you're manipulating, you're not true to the form. So what do you think
Right.
about that, Stewy? Is that totally
Yeah.
wrong? Was it maybe old school?
No, I think this is very good. So, with regard to how you should wear your hair, or just going back to you don't have to have locks to be a Rastafarian. Like I think for the most part, right, you're a young person, you definitely emulated somebody, right? And you kind of saw it, maybe you grew up in it, your father was a Rastafarian, your friends are Rastafarian. You're young, more than likely, yeah, you're finding yourself, you're gonna grow your locks, right? You want to assimilate and associate with your peers. So when I say you don't have to, I mean it's a choice, right? I mean, there are Rastafarians that I know people have to cut them hair. I know Rastafarians that had to cut them hair at a certain age. They got older, maybe they got sick, maybe the things happen in life and they had to change and they had to cut their hair, but it didn't make them stop being Rastafarian, because Rastafarian is a faith and a way of life and things like that, right? So as long as, to me, this is just my opinion, as long as you maintain in that order as a Rastafarian, if you don't have locks on your head, okay, I get it, right? It's fine. So it's just how you receive that, right? Or your understanding of it, right? It doesn't mean that you're not real. You're more of a Rasta if you have dreads. You're more of a Rasta if you hear natty and bongo and tie up and all of that stuff like that. It make you more dread. It's like, no, not really. That's just a personal choice of how you decided to grow your locks and your experience, right? A lot of people who grow them locks is straight out of their experience, and that is why it means so much to them, because it's what them go through in life and how them actually form them natty, why them keep it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, now
I even heard people say, "Oh, Jesus had dreads," because of that one passage in the Bible that says
Locks.
that his hair was
Right.
made of wool.
Yeah.
Locks.
And they're like,
Right.
"Oh, this is dreads, of course."
Right. So it's interpretation again, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
And remember, belief kill and belief cure, right? So
Right.
you really have to really understand where people coming from when they're giving you their experience to really understand is, you know what I mean? How them receive the information.
yeah.
Right.
That
I tried it one time, Nicole. I tried to grow my hair and lock up, but it just didn't work. So I just cut it off.
Oh, your hair was
Oh,
too
so you don't
soft.
have.
His hair was soft
Huh?
like Becky's. Mhm.
Yeah, it never looked good. So it shouldn't be a thing of how it did look. I just thinking at the time of my life where I decided to do that, I just stick to the faith.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, we all go through things. It shapes who we are today, and it's a great
Yep.
story and experience. It's something that you could share
Right.
with your kids, and just like how you shared with us and our listeners, so we're a little bit wiser today.
Yep.
Another
Thank you.
another thing that is cultural appropriation, just so you guys know, trying to act like you're an expert in their food, music, or art, and that you can do it better than them. People, stop yourselves. Don't do it. Okay? Right?
Oh man,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it's hard. Cultural appropriation is really, really hard because, like henna, I love henna, but am I from the Middle East or from India, like South Asia? No, but I love henna. It's beautiful. There's people who do corn rolls. Are black people the only people that can do corn rolls?
I know.
Like I feel like it's really hard.
I know.
For me, like dressing up like a Native American or dressing up like someone else's like religion or traditional costume sometimes to
Yes.
me is a little fishy. I
That's
really
on
don't
the
like that
list.
as well.
Yeah, that's on the list. It
But
says wearing specific item of clothing that may and probably do have deeper meaning as a costume, like on Halloween, is cultural appropriation.
yeah.
So, yeah, and I agree. I like henna too, and but I guess it's the way you do it. Maybe the way you do things. You know what I mean? Like when you see these girls get corn rolls. Am I even saying it right? Corn rolls, and I'm black. Listen, corn
Yeah, that's
rolls.
right.
If you get corn rolls and you're acting like you came out with this is my, like how Coco T, Ice T's wife, she had like her hair braided in like cornrows or something, and she said she called this the Coco twist or the Coco something, and the black girls went in on her like, girl, you tried it. Like, they went crazy. So I think it's just the way that you do stuff. You just have to be
And I think
sensitive.
it's who does it, because Rihanna has henna tattooed on her hand.
Yeah.
And that became a trend. And I didn't hear anyone say cultural appropriation to Rihanna because she's cool.
Right.
But, if Coco did it, I'm sure she would have gotten blasted.
Yeah, probably. Because I think everybody's just really angry right now. I think there's a lot of racial tensions going on, and just people just need to relax. In the words of Noriega, we all need to relax. He's a rapper, if you guys don't know. He's always saying everybody just needs to relax. And I think it's true. I think we're just a little tight. So, yeah. Well, this was a great episode. I really enjoyed having you both on. And before I let you go, I have to ask you each, what was your oh hell no moment of the day or the week or last week or whatever? Because this is the Oh Hell No podcast. So, Stewy, what was your oh hell no moment of this week?
My oh hell no moment.
Yes.
I didn't think about this, but I was just on the spot. My oh hell no moment was probably at work, being asked by some person to do something that I absolutely did not really care about, and I really just said, "Oh, no, I'm not doing that." I actually said the words, "I'm not doing that." If I knew I was gonna do oh hell no this week, I would have probably said oh hell no, but I said I'm not doing that.
Okay. And Audrey, what was your oh hell no moment?
Mine came from today. I saw a video on Instagram. It was actually with the hurricane relief shelters in Texas, and there was this distraught woman. She was half soaking wet. She had her kids. She was in the shelter, and there was media, a woman from a news anchor. She had the mic in her hand, and in the girl's face, and she's like, "How do you feel right now?" And this lady's obviously distraught, visibly distraught. And the lady's telling her, "I'm not feeling well. I don't want your mic in my face. You guys are just showing this media." And I felt like the lady kept putting the mic in her face, and she's telling her, "Please put down your mic. This is not a time to have you, having this media parade." So that was my, oh, hell no. I can't believe, these people.
Well, there you have it. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Oh Hell No. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I really had a great time making it, and I learned a lot today. I hope that no one is offended by the things that we talked about today. We respect everyone's religion. I love my Jamaican people. I love my Rastas, and I just want to say that, we respect everyone and we love everyone, and I hope that that was conveyed in our podcast today. So again, thank you for listening, and we'll talk soon. Soon.